Spring training is finally here, which means opening day is right around the corner. To get you set for the start of the season, here are my 10 biggest player-focused storylines to watch for the 2024 season, beyond just how will Ohtani do on a really good team, or can Ronald Acuña Jr. get even better? I'm bound to miss something here, but that's where you come in. Let me know what you think the biggest stories from this season will be down in the comments below, other than the blatantly obvious ones. We've got those covered. We're starting off today's video with Cincinnati's young phenom, infielder Elly De La Cruz. In short, he's instant theater. He hits absolute moonshots, stole 3 bases in 1 AB last season, and has the swagger of a superstar. And he's why Cincinnati finally has some hope of returning to the postseason in 2024. Well, it's not just Elly, but he's certainly the centerpiece of a young Reds team that has aspirations of returning to the playoffs for just the second time since 2013. We'll talk about the Reds more when we go in depth on every team in our season preview, but Elly is the type of player that turns your head even as a casual fan. He showed glimpses of superstardom when he hit for the cycle against the Braves in June, and I'm excited to see if he and the Reds can establish themselves as one of the NL's best in 2024. Everyone talks about the Braves and Dodgers, but don't forget about Elly and the Reds. While his WRC Plus actually fell below Major League average, and he struck out 33.7% of the time in 2023, Elly's raw talent is worth the watch on its own. Add that to a young Reds team, and there's plenty of reason to be intrigued with the Reds in 2024. The Baby Birds in Baltimore ran away with the national spotlight for much of the season. From Adley Rutschman's leadership behind the plate to Gunnar Henderson's Rookie of the Year campaign, the 2023 Orioles seemingly had it all. But while they struggled in October, expectations in Baltimore are higher than they have been in quite some time, especially after they traded for Corbin Burnes. For me, though, one of the biggest X factors for the Orioles is going to be Cedric Mullins, a guy who really didn't get much attention in 2023. In fact, when you look at how good he can be, Mullins had a pretty disappointing year in 2023. Back in 2021, Mullins produced almost 6 wins above replacement with a 136 WRC plus and a weighted on-base average, in other words, the quality of how and how often he got on base, of 372. The only problem was that the Orioles lost 110 games that season. 2 years later, they won 101, despite Mullins being much less productive than he was in 2021. He hit just 233 with a 99 WRC plus, with just 1.8 wins above replacement last year. He did miss a good chunk of time with injury in 2023, so you can understand why the year just wasn't quite up to his standards. That said, I do believe Mullins will have to be much better if the O's want to sustain their newfound success in the toughest division in baseball. When the Yankees traded Michael King, Johnny Brito, Kyle Higashioka, and a handful of prospects to the Padres for Juan Soto and Trent Grisham, they sent a message to the rest of the league. The Yankees are back. But are they, back? The reality is, they need to be, or this really could be the beginning of a dark period for the Yankees. Juan Soto is set to hit free agency after the 2024 season, and you can bet the house on Scott Boras' megastar client testing the waters of free agency, despite the Yankees' best efforts to sign him up long term. But maybe not as well publicized is Garrett Cole's opt-out after 2024. Though the Yankees have a club option on Cole that would see him make basically the same amount of money, Cole is 33 and saw his average fastball velocity down a full mile an hour in 2023 from the previous year. And I'm not saying he can't be effective without that extra velocity, but 2024 has to be a big year for the entire team, or they'll watch Soto sign with someone else without a second thought. Oh, and Soto is likely to sign the biggest free agent contract for a position player, not counting Ohtani of course, given he'll hit free agency when he's 26. It really wasn't that long ago that Manny Machado was considered one of the top 10, maybe even top 5 players in the game. He finished second in NL MVP voting in 2022, has 2 gold gloves and a platinum glove to his name to go along with a silver slugger. But for whatever reason, last year felt like a huge downturn for Machado, even if the numbers don't support that. He still put together a 114 WRC plus with 3.5 wins above replacement per Fangraphs while slugging 30 home runs and driving in 91. Of course, you'd probably want more than 3.5 wins above replacement level if you're paying a guy $350 million over 11 years. But Machado just didn't look like the version of himself that went 3rd overall in the 2010 draft. That said, for 2023 to be considered a down year is better than most of the league. And Machado still has the tools to be more than productive on both sides of the ball for the Padres. The only problem for the Padres is that the Dodgers, Giants, and Diamondbacks all got demonstrably better in the offseason. It looks like more of an uphill climb for the Padres, a stark contrast to where we were this time last year. 2024 should be an interesting year for so many reasons, but one you may not be acknowledging is the impending free agencies of both Max Fried and Walker Buehler. The Dodgers would love to keep Buehler, but he's coming off Tommy John surgery and turns 30 in July of this year. Max Fried for the Braves turned 30 back in January and is also in his walk year. With Atlanta and LA both going all in this year, they'll need Fried and Buehler respectively to dominate every time they get the ball in 2024. 2022 was Fried's last season where he logged more than 150 innings, and he turned in a 2.48 ERA with 5 wins above replacement in 30 starts for Atlanta. For Buehler, 2021 was his last full campaign, where he logged a 2.47 ERA with 5.5 wins above replacement in 207 innings, making 33 starts for the Dodgers. Both guys are ace-level starters and will likely command salaries somewhere in Aaron Nola territory that is at or above the $25 million AAV that Philly gave to Nola. And with Atlanta unlikely to shell out that kind of money to keep Fried, especially given his age, it wouldn't be a stretch to assume 2024 is his last year with the Braves. But with $325 million already heading in Yoshinobu Yamamoto's bank account, I wouldn't say it's a lock that the Dodgers extend or re-sign Buehler either. Is there a chance Fried and Buehler just trade places? Fried looks destined for free agency, but whether or not he ends up in Dodger blue probably relies on how Buehler pitches this season. Watch these two more closely than usual, even with the baseball world fixated on the Dodgers versus Braves cat and mouse game in 2024. Anthony Rendon's thoughts on baseball are pretty well known, but what about the best player on his team? Trout is back to life without Ohtani as he was in 2017, but the Angels, new manager and all, are still as confusing a club as exists in baseball. What will Ron Washington's team look like in 2024? If you paid any attention to the Braves over the last 5 years, you know how hard Wash worked with the team. It's up to Trout to lead by example, and the best way to do that is to stay on the field. Over the last 3 seasons, that's been a problem. He's played in less than 100 games 2 of the last 3 and hasn't really had a full campaign since 2019. To give you an idea of what a decline looks like for Mike Trout, because we seem to talk about him like he's washed up, he accumulated 3 wins above replacement in just 82 games in 2023 and had a 134 WRC+. That's by far the lowest WRC+ of his career, not including the 40 games he played as a 19-year-old back in 2011. Trout is still one of the best, and any suggestion that he isn't more than capable of being a top 5 player in baseball is completely ludicrous. The 2023 MLB season saw the introduction of not only the pitch clock, but also infield alignment restrictions, or a banning of the shift. Gone are the days of 3, 4, even 5 defenders on one side of the diamond. You can look at the spray charts and I'd imagine you'd be surprised to see how much some guys were affected by the shift prior to 2023. 2 guys in particular benefited massively from the shift ban: Atlanta's Matt Olson and Texas's Cory Seager. Olson slugged a franchise record 54 home runs with 139 RBIs, while posting the highest batting average of his career at 283. Seager, on the other hand, hit 33 home runs with 96 RBIs in just 119 games. He also posted a 169 WRC+ with 6.1 wins above replacement. Of course, Seager also did what he does best and went unconscious in the postseason, leading the Rangers to their first World Series championship in franchise history. Seager belted 3 home runs in 5 games in the Fall Classic as the Rangers beat the Diamondbacks in 5 games. While Olson struggled in the postseason, so did the entirety of the Braves' historic offense. But what we learned in 2023 is that the left-handed pull hitter is back. We've talked about Adley and Ellie and other young stars in the game, both in this video and others. But going into this season, there are now 2 young superstars who are now signed to long-term extensions with their teams. Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt Jr. are, in theory, with their clubs for the long haul. The Mariners signed Rodriguez to a massive extension in August of 2022 that could see him in Mariners colors for the next 14 years, depending on performance and player options and a bunch of other variables. Witt just recently signed an 11-year extension worth $288 million to stay with the Royals. Rodriguez endured somewhat of a sophomore slump a year that still saw him produce 5.9 wins above replacement with a 126 WRC+, while slugging 32 home runs with 103 RBIs. He also swiped 37 bases to easily join the 30-30 club, making the former Rookie of the Year one of the most well-rounded players in the game. The J-Rod Show can go out and get it in center field with a home run robbery or two in his back pocket, reminding Mariners fans of a certain Ken Griffey Jr. Strikeouts were an issue for Rodriguez in 2023, but make no mistake, even when things aren't going well, he's still one of the best in the league. As for Bobby Witt Jr., his 2023 season showed us what kind of player he can be. He recorded 5.7 wins above replacement while hitting 30 homers and swiping 49 bags, all while being serviceable defensively. There's room for improvement, sure, and we're a long way from calling him a Gold Glove shortstop, but make no mistake, the Royals have a star in their hands and he's around for the foreseeable future. You know things aren't looking great in Red Sox Nation when the usually soft-spoken Rafael Devers calls out his team's owners for being stingy and not investing in the team to make it better. There are maybe a handful of things to be optimistic about for Red Sox fans in 2024, and they probably all involve Devers. Rafi Big Scoops signed a massive 10-year, $313.5 million extension with the Red Sox to stay in Boston for most likely the rest of his career. But outside of the Sox third baseman, Boston doesn't have much reason for optimism in 2024. That said, Devers has been very productive in Boston, posting at least a 124 WRC+ in each of his last 3 seasons, while being worth between 3 and 5 wins above replacement each year. He hasn't been a great defender at third base, but his ability to hit makes him worthy of the attention in 2024. But as far as the Red Sox are concerned, they'll probably be happy to win just maybe 81 games. Things have not looked good in Boston for the last few years, and it seems that patience in Red Sox Nation is starting to run out. According to some people, the key to success in baseball isn't winning your division, winning the most games, and earning a bye. It's by sneaking into the postseason via wildcard and getting hot at just the right time in just the right way. Who needs to win the division when you're the Philadelphia Phillies, and who better to lead them than first baseman Bryce Harper? He's already a cult hero in Philadelphia, and his cyborg-esque return from Tommy John surgery just 160 days after surgery still baffles me. But if the permanent shift to first base will preserve Harper for a long season, better than him playing in the outfield every day, then I'd say the Phillies have a good chance to shock the baseball establishment and snatch home field advantage from the Braves or Dodgers or anyone else in the NL. Will it happen? I'm not so sure. But Harper looks like he's ready for a monster season, and if I'm honest, baseball is better when Bryce Harper is launching baseballs into orbit. Citizens Bank Park is a home field advantage unlike any other, and if the Phillies can take advantage of the most hostile of ballparks in Major League Baseball, they may well deliver some silverware back to the city of brotherly love. So that's it for today's video. 10 storylines to watch that you may not have considered, or at least may not be front of mind. And obviously, guys like Acuña and Ohtani are must-watch, as are the Braves and Dodgers just as a whole. 162 games are left to decide who gets to follow the Rangers as World Series champions. And based on how last year went, I'd say we're in for another roller coaster ride. Let me know what else might be worth watching in 2024, outside of the biggest names and storylines and anything else I might have missed. If you made it this far, a like is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.